Hello everybody out there in Facebook land, TikTok world, YouTube, everywhere this video will be seen. So hopefully you're all doing well out there. Hopefully you all are awake like I kind of am. Welcome to the show. I am Monty Anderson, your host here at 412 Productions, The Art of Monty Anderson, where we talk comic books, movies, real life, artwork, you name it, we talk about it except for two topics, and you know what those two topics are. And we don't talk about those because people start losing their damn minds whenever we talk about those two topics, and we avoid those two topics. So there you go. But welcome to the show, everybody. Hopefully, you all are doing great out there. Like I said, today is Antarctic Press Day, and it's going to be a little bit different because I didn't realize that until just now when I opened up the attachment that Ben Dunn had sent me earlier, is that the comic book in discussion, which is Monkey Peak, it is a graphic novel. It's 220 pages long, folks. So, we will only be covering a portion of this comic book today. We will talk about some other things, as we move along through this, but let's get started with oh, yesterday. Exhausting. 100%. It was a full day of, we went and got a free greenhouse that was given to us by a friend's brother. It got a little storm damage, and so he wanted to take it down. And so we went up there, took it apart, loaded it on his brother's trailer, and brought it back. Unloaded it. I haven't done anything with it yet, but um, I will. We are going to do an in-ground greenhouse in the garden area that we just opened up. And so, with that being said, um, we are also going to be um, basically redoing the size because this greenhouse will be the topper, but it also um, is going to be, you know, a little bit shorter and not as big as we were going to dig down in there because it was going to be a 15-foot by almost 10-foot structure for the in-ground greenhouse. But this will make it a little bit different size. And you've been fed. Go to bed. I'm talking about my pig. Yes, I homestead as well. So there is a pig in the house right now, and she is griping. Hold on just a second. She's a little angry this morning for whatever reason. She's already been fed. She's had her food. She's been outside the potty. So I don't know what her deal is. But anyway, so we did that, picked it up, took it down, brought it back, put it on a pallet out front, and then continued the cleanup of the backyard. The girlfriend had most of that taken care of by the time I got back, about 1 o'clock roughly. Um, and then after that, I structuralized my new fence for the chicken compound back there that we've redone and opened up. So they've got a bigger area as well, but they have the entire backyard to go to as well. So they have a new spot, but we're going to build a new chicken coop back there as well. And so we have all that opened up. We did have a rainstorm yesterday morning, last night in the morning, and it did wobblize my fence just a little bit that I built because I don't have all my posts in yet, but I wanted to get the fence up so that we could get the chickens, their new spot opened up so that they can start getting used to it. And they are, some of them are going back in there periodically, but not everybody yet. But it'll take some time. We've got a bunch of new ones to introduce. I mean, we're introducing them in. They're still too small to, you know, uh, release with everybody else yet. So where they'll get picked on and most likely killed by the other ones. So we have to let them get still some bigger yet, so that they can take care of themselves whenever they are all introduced together. Now everybody's living arrangements will change once we get this new coop built, and once the new coop is built, everybody will be housed together. More roosting bars, more room, 100%. A 12 by 12 structure over what they have now, which is three separate structures inside of one little protected run area. But again, they do free range during the day. So, good grief. These are the things you have to deal with when you have animals, people. These are the things you deal with when you have animals. She does not want to listen very well this morning. And I don't know what the deal is, because normally after she's had her food, she usually goes right back to bed. But today she's having a little pissy fit, and she's not having the bedtime. So she will go back to bed eventually. So it's just things you deal with whenever you have animals. Like I said, we did have goats. We got rid of those. We realized those weren't for us, and so we still have the mini pig. She's not too many. She's about 100 and probably 140 pounds if I had to guess. Uh, Cooney and Juliana mix. So she took more of the Cooney than she did the Juliana. The Juliana is a smaller pig. So there you go. So we're keeping with the ducks and the birds, the turkeys, the chickens, all that good stuff. We have more chickens than anything else. We have two geese. We've got three turkeys, because if this leg trick doesn't work, we're gonna have to put one down. She ended up breaking her legs due to a light malfunction, as it fell on her and hit her legs and broke them. And now she's not able to walk very well. So we will probably end up having to do something about her, because that's no quality of life for her to be like. So it's just part of homesteading. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. So, so yesterday was a long, exhausting day, but we got to sit out there and enjoy the yard without a whole bunch of stuff all over the place. Meaning, um, we did have a ton of pallets stacked up in areas just all over the place, because we took down one fence that separated the goats from the dog. So we split the yard in half with pallets and had a gate in between. And so we took all that down and had it stacked up. Well, whenever I started the upper section of the fence, so my fence is over 7 foot tall with the pallets stacked on top of each other. And from there, we were able to secure everything up, put some structures in so that whenever the wind blows, it doesn't just knock the fence over until I get the rest of my post in place. Um, And then from there, we were able to get all of that taken care of yesterday, including cleaning the yard to make it look more presentable, you know. And then once we're able to, we're going to take out all of the rocks from around the old um, section of a fire pit that was huge, massive. It was a 20 by 20 fire pit, and we made a smaller one. It's about an 8 by 8 round fire pit that many people can sit around and enjoy. Um, so now we've got all that opened up. We're going to move the trampoline over to a different area that's more level. And then from there, I've got some welding to do and for a moon gate to go into the new garden section. And looky there, Mr. Roy Joe Twilight Bradley Jr. is now awake and on the broadcast. Good morning, Mr. Roy Joe Twilight Bradley Jr. Did you sleep well? So, hopefully everybody's team sucked for the draft that happened from the 24th through the 26th. Our team actually did some semi-smart moves. Yes, we did not pick up a wide receiver or a running back in the draft itself, but we did pick up some great acquisitions in the undrafted free agent market. Some great talent there, some speedster and some bullies right there when it comes to football, smash mouth football. So we will see how the preseason goes for these players and go from there. But like I said, it was a actually great draft class for us this year. Built up on a lot of positions that we needed, and we are, able to fill in some holes and things of that nature. So we picked up 9 undrafted free agents as of last night or yesterday. So I don't know if we picked up any more as of yesterday or today, because the last count I saw was immediately after the draft was over. We picked up several, and then by Saturday we picked up 9 total: 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and then some more defensive players on that side. So, but with all that being said, football season is right around the corner. August is quick approaching. Everybody should be at camp already that's not holding out. If your team has any holdouts, I'm sorry. That's how it goes sometimes. We do not, fortunately, have any holdouts at this point in time. Is my mic still on? Yeah, it's still on. But, so that is my day in a nutshell. I was supposed to talk to a guy about working on a book with him, but that didn't happen last night or yesterday. Um, from either side or standpoint from us. But we'll get that hashed out. He's the guy I'm doing the 2 logos for his, one's for his clothing line and one's for his personal business. So he's got 2 different businesses going on with it. And so we will get that hashed out. Just like we, hashed out the whole comic book between Jason Pitts and I on Friday, the 25th. And then I talked to a buddy of mine yesterday about a big commission, an 18 by 24 piece that I'm working on for him. Once half payment is made, he's already made a payment. So once half payment is made, then I get started. But I've got to get through everybody else's work first. I also have the opportunity to be put in an anthology series with professors and doctors and doctorates. I mean, not doctors. Check your heart and all that stuff. Scholars, you know. So there's a lot of opportunities abounding. I do have to get back to my voiceover. I still haven't done that yet, but I shall. And so there's a lot of opportunities coming my way right now. A lot of things that I've got to get right to make it look very cool, to make it sound very cool, and to, you know, make everything that I've been striving for and working for a reality. So, um, because you always want to work for yourself. Now, being said, if you are working for a company and you're making anywhere between 25 to 40 bucks an hour, okay, I get that. I totally understand that. But most people in today's economy do not fit that mold with anybody that they work with. Um, so, and in today's economy, you really need to be making about 30 bucks an hour to survive. Otherwise, it's paycheck to paycheck and ramen noodles for dinner and breakfast and lunch. So that's you just have to split that one package up into 3 meals during the day. Just because your most rents, because most people rent nowadays in apartments and things like that, are anywhere between $1,100 to $1,500. That's just in this area. Um, there are some $800 apartments and things like that, or even some houses for rent for that price around the Arkansas area. But you move into some bigger cities, say like New York or California or places like that. You're probably talking closer to $2,000 a month rent. So, but I don't live in those areas, so I cannot speak for those areas as far as rent goes. Um, but me, I got away from the renting scene a long, long time ago because why do I want to throw money away on something that isn't mine? You know, why do I want to throw money away on an apartment complex? Why do I want to throw money away? I mean, sometimes I get the appeal of, hey, I don't want to cut my yard, so man, I wish I was in an apartment, or I wish I lived above my business, in Eureka Springs or whatever, where I didn't have to maintain a lawn or anything like that. But then the other times are like, no, I really want to cut my grass. No, I really want to trim my trees. No, I really want to put in a garden. Those type of aspects. Whereas when you're in an apartment complex or a apartment over your business, you don't have those opportunities to do that unless you have some big garden space on your rooftop or something like that. You know. But here I've got you know roughly 50 feet of garden space plus you know almost square 50 by 50 is basically what my garden space is sitting on right now. So that's a lot of garden space, folks. And if you want to convert that into the square footage, you can. I'm not going to do it for you. Okay, so like I said, I opened up Monkey Peak, the comic book that I got. So I might turn this into a multiple day type of a thing. I do have 30 pages printed out, which is a very small. I'm talking small amount from Antarctic Press for Monkey Peak, and the thing is, it's 220 pages long, like I said, and so it's very, very well done. I like these horror style comics that they're doing. Manga is what this is because it's not an anime, but this is manga. And yes, I have permission to print the pages and do what I want with them uh, via Mr. Ben Dunn, since he is Mr. Antarctic Press here. Um, the artwork is your typical manga artwork. So, yeah, that's not going to happen. There might be a hot tub one of these days, but not an in ground pool or below ground pool. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So, just saying. All right, so right here, this is Monkey Peak, a horror graphic novel, 220 pages long. And thank you for the likes and please share, follow, and go up to my page right here, my profile page, not you guys on YouTube and Facebook, or right here on TikTok. Go right there and go like and follow my other pages where you can get the full review if you miss out on today's broadcast. Again, thank you for the likes. I appreciate it very, very much. It helps our algorithm grow and push. And if you share this, other people will come in and watch it as well. So, Monkey Peak right here. It is obviously straight up manga. Right there, right there. And volume one of Monkey Peak is story is Koji Shinesaka, art by Akiro Kumeda, translation Andrew Hall, phase 6, and lettering is Alfred Perez. I think Alfred Perez does all of Antarctic Press's works when it comes to that. It does have an ISBN number, first published in Japan in 2017 by the, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, limited to Tokyo. English translation rights arranged with the same company through Phase 6 Incorporated Tokyo. So, this is what I'm reading. Let me show you that. Right there. Monkey Peak. Right there. Okay. Monkey Peak. Alright, so the opening scenes are a kind of your typical manga, if you will. And if you guys don't know what manga is, it is the Japanese comic book storytelling. And it's a very stylized look with everything that they do. Um, so everything that happens in the comic books, there's speed lines, there's clouds, there's all these different aspects, and to it that they put in after the fact. Now, some people are doing it in Procreate or different programs like that, especially on a tablet and things of that nature. But back in the day, now 2017 isn't too far back in the day. Okay, I have an itch in my ear. Okay, so um, early on, they had these contact sheets that they would put down after they've drawn out the panels. They would put down, cut out around everything, and so you had all these like little bubbles or speed lines or different things like that that would show motion or emotion and things of that nature. Well, now in Procreate, it's much easier to go in there and just boom, done, and you've got your clouds, your gradients, or whatever. And I'm going to show you some of those here in just a minute, like right here on this panel, these clouds back in here, all that good stuff. Now, you also have the people that can go in there and manipulate paint, uh, watercolor, black, white, all that good stuff. Black, white, and grays. So here, the opening scene is a body, blood splatter everywhere, and they're talking about the monkey that did this, or it was the monkey that did this? Question mark, questioning it. Are you sure, Satch? What is it, Mattia? And they're all sweating, even though they're in a mountainous region and got their coats on. So it's either cold and they're nervous because he's got sweat pouring down his face. Um, Miyata has sweat pouring down their face as well. Um, Now, Miyata is the only one standing here in a suit, hoodie, jacket type situation right there. So then we see those speed lines I was talking about coming from the sun area with the clouds right there. This is what I was talking about. That they used to put down by hand on a contact sheet and all that good stuff. Um, the artwork is very cool. There's a lot of detail when it comes to the the mountainous area that they're in. You get to see the brush that's in the that's in the rocks. and things of that nature. And then you get to see the different contrast in the background. Almost losing the people in the foreground here. And then one guy has a broken leg. One person's bleeding. So everybody's, talking about the whole situation because they talk about, another one dead, another broken limb as they're sitting here conversing, trying to figure out what's going to happen. Now, I think I'm reading this backwards. I almost feel like I'm reading this backwards. Manga's very weird, folks. I'm just going through my pages because with manga it's very weird. You usually read back to front. I'm just making sure that I'm not reading this the wrong way. And that's what makes this very difficult because he did not tell me which way this actually reads. And sometimes that can be confusing. And I apologize, folks. Okay, so maybe we are reading it backwards. I'm about to find out because there's a chapter 9 in here too, I think. I apologize, folks, because this is very confusing stuff right here when it comes to a manga magazine, especially whenever it comes to you and it is, you know, basically front to back, and they've got it the way you're supposed to read it, but then you're supposed to read it back to front. So where we started is kind of towards the back of the book, if you will. And so I'm trying to see how this goes. But yeah, the way it's looking, we're reading it backwards. Okay. So now that we've got that out of the way, I guess, I don't know. This might be one of those things that I have to do a little more research on to make sure that I'm reading this correctly and that we have this going on correctly. That's not the right one. This one is the right one. You Okay, so I'm looking at this. I'm going to look at this a little more. I might just switch gears on all this. Okay, so you got that page. Yeah, so we're reading it back to front. We should be reading it, or we're reading it from front to back. We should be reading it from back to front. So I've got all of my pages askew. So we will be redoing this whole thing. And maybe I'll just do a whole special recording like I did last time with one of these that was very, very long. And post it later and put a link on here as well. Just because it's 220 pages long, there are, as it shows right here, there are 10 chapters, and we are on chapter 9 and 10 back here. So we've actually got to reverse this, flip it and reverse it, and go that route with it, because this is going to be a long, drawn out affair. But it's got cool artwork as it goes for manga, and I dig the style, and I'm glad it's a horror style comic book. So, which also leads into, this is a continuation. There's going to be a volume 2 for Monkey Peak, um, as it stands. So, and I'm guessing it's already out there, and they're doing the translation, and they're going to print a second one later, because as it stands right now, we only have volume 1, and it's 220 pages long, 10 chapters, which means there was 10 books initially with all of this, how it came out. So you do the math on that, and you'll get the number of how many pages were per comic book. So, but there's a lot of, it's not so much action, if you will, but it is a whole lot of information going on per page, per panel. Um, because there's, they are in a mountainous setting. They are hiking. They are. I'm not sure why you've got a guy in a suit out there hiking with everybody else that's in your typical gear, as far as being in the mountain area. Like Mattia, who was in the suit, he got confused because he said reception or recreation is still part of business. So I thought to dress formally. You seriously didn't see through that? As he's in a business suit and everybody else is in their hiking gear, basically. And so now, I mean, it goes on and on like that. But again, it's your typical manga, but it's very well done um, when it comes to all of this. You've got tons of detail, as you usually do in manga. Uh, Very little attention to detail is not there, um, because every panel has a ton of detail. And it's just, apparently they were on a hiking retreat type of a thing where there was tons of people, and they all made it to the top of the summit, and they're taking pictures and all that good stuff because everybody's got their cell phones out. Um, oh no, they don't. They're just clapping. They don't have their cell phones out. They're just clapping. But it's, there's a big hiking or a retreat where everybody is. It's like a motivational type of a thing. Yeah, it's a character building group effort for Fujitani Pharmaceuticals, and they've got their motivational speaker and all that good stuff. And so got everybody, up there, and something's happening outside the tent. Like I said, you got the monkey walking around. Oh, excuse me. And he's a big dude with a hatchet looking thing. I can't remember what the exact blade is called, but yeah, we'll do a whole segment on this because this is a pretty cool horror manga comic book, and I'm digging it. As far as you know, I mean, I'm digging it. Like I said, and hopefully you guys will too. Whenever I do the whole reveal to it and things of that nature. This is where I need that split screen, and then I need, to be able to put it here so you guys can see what I'm scrolling through as well. Um, and so it's looking about like, what is that? Got people gagging because of the scene. Yeah, it's just cool. I mean, like I was showing you here, all of this stuff right here. Um, we can show you the monkey man himself right here. Maybe there's the monkey man himself. He's got a bow and arrow as well as the machete. I'll show you guys up here too. I'm gonna move this out of the way. So we are going to, you know, hold off on this, and I'm probably going to do a whole special recording on this, just because um, you've got to read it back to front. You can't read it the way I was reading it. So I screwed up on that end. So I'm sorry, Mr. Ben Dunn. Antarctic Press Day. We'll have to wait just a moment. But no, it's very cool, very well done. Like I said, I'm already liking it just because again, it's a horror comic book. It's manga. I'm not a big manga fan 100%, but I can appreciate the style, the artwork that goes into it, and 220 pages, and basically 10 comic books long for this first segment is not too shabby. Um, and so it's one of those things that if you've never gotten into manga comic books, go to Books a Million, pick one that you might be interested in. They've got a whole segment devoted to manga, and there's tons of genres when it comes to it. You've got your romance, you've got your superhero, you've got your horror, you've got your um, drama, you got your thrillers, you've got the list goes on and on of what they've got. And if you're into any of that and you are into comic books as well, go check out one just to check it out. They are pretty long, so just know that. And you read them back to front, and I should have realized that with this. But since I just opened it up today, I mean, I opened up the email the day that it happened, but I was busy that day as well. And then yesterday was super busy. I had no time to breathe really. And then today I opened it up to print it, and I should have realized, hey, you need to go from the back from page 220 and print backwards from there. So that is how that goes on that endeavor. So, but no, it's very cool already. Lots of blood everywhere, and I'm digging that because I'm a horror fanatic, and I've got horror theme all throughout my office. I've got horror autographs. I've got Elvira over here, Mistress of the Darkness, and all that good stuff. And horror is just my thing. I've always enjoyed it, and it's just one of those deals that um, I love it. I can't get enough of it. I haven't found one that has creeped me out yet. As far as, oh my god, I'm never watching happens when you stay up all night. Instead of sleeping during the evening time and staying up during the day and then getting up at a reasonable hour, Mr. Roy Joe Twilight Bradley Jr. But you have a nice sleep. You enjoy that slumber time because I'm up for the rest of the day. I got a lot of projects to do. I got to get hustling and bustling on a bunch of artwork. So, but we'll continue here for a little while longer. We're going to sidestep the whole Antarctic Press thing, just because I printed it wrong, and that's on me. I should have realized that hey, you've got to start with the last page and go backwards. So, and that's fine. We will get it hammered out, all if you will. And like I said, I'll probably do a whole different recording. Probably even do it tomorrow on my day off between live shows, and that way I can you know, give it the devotion that it needs for Mr. Ben Dunn and Antarctic Press, since they are allowing me to, work with them as an initiative program to get the word out on their product. Not that they need it, but it just helps on that endeavor for them as well as me, because it puts my name out there just as much as it puts their name out there, because I get upwards of 4 to 5,000 views on my stuff on a regular basis. So that's 5,000 potential clients for Antarctic Press if you're into comic books, manga, things of that nature. So, and then vice versa, all their followers get to see my reviews on their product, and so from there they can follow me and pick up my artwork. So it's a twofold thing for both of us. He's helping me out. I'm helping him out. You know, and it's not like there's no money involved between the two of us. It's just an initiative program. He allows certain podcasts and influencers to go out there and talk about their stuff, their comic books, their T-shirts, their 40th anniversary, their whatever. And so it's just a great thing, a great feeling to be able to do all of that as it boils down to it. So, but it is one of those things that needs a little bit more devotion to it than what I'm giving it at this present juncture, just because 220 pages is a lot to cover. Um, so we will do that on a separate broadcast altogether. Do a whole new recording for it, and like I said, probably tomorrow, because today is going to be devoted to a bunch of work that I've got to get done. I'm still working on the painted cover. I've got to get my office cleaned up, and I've got to get comic books marked out there to sell. That I've got, you know, X amount of boxes that I want to go through and get those sold off. Just because there's stuff that I don't read. Yeah, they're good to have. Yeah, they're good collectibles and things of that nature. But all in all, it's not stuff that I need. In my collection. Now, with that being said, I also collect what I collect. There's certain stuff that I you know cater to, and I have a special place in my heart for. But when it comes to all of the comic books out there, yeah, they're cool to have, and especially the old stuff that is a lot of this stuff over here was before most of you were born. That's actually watching my show right now. Oh well, thank you. You have a blessed day too. I'm not leaving yet, so I mean you can if you want to. No one's holding you here, but I appreciate you being here. Um, and lip sing, love lip sing. So, but yeah, the a lot of the comic books that I have are from like the 60s and the 70s and the early 80s. So, and that's a lot of time. A lot of people that watch these shows, um, weren't born even an inkling, weren't even being thought of at that point in time. Now I know some of you on here are around my age, which is 53, 54 this year. So I was born in 71. Yes, that makes me an old fart. And so with that, you know, some of these comic books are even older than I am. Because some of them are in the like 60. I think my oldest one is like 65 or something like that. That's my brother's age, you know. And so, or is he 64? 64, somewhere in that range. 64 or 65 for my brother. And that's 1964. And then I do have some modern stuff in here, but not a lot. Just because the price of comic books is through the roof. I saw one comic book that was being sold out there uh, by a company, and they wanted $15 for the comic book. I don't know how many pages it is. I don't know what all the artwork on the inside looks like, anything like that. But $15 a comic book, this thing had better be bringing me breakfast in bed. Okay, um, because there is no way in hell that I'm going to be spending $15 for one comic book, especially a new title. You know, Now, if it was down at the $5 price range, maybe, because that seems to be where everybody is pushing their books to be, is that around a $5 to $6 price range for one comic book nowadays. You know, Whereas, let me pull back to 1970s. You know, when comic books were 25 cents. You know, 25 cents a comic book. That's that's the lifestyle right there. 25 cents a comic book. You know, But the cool thing about these two comic books, there's potential to be, close to $10,000 or more in these two comic books alone. These are not reprints. These are the real deal. Holyfield, um, Hulk 181, 182. If I had 180, had the trifecta, it would be even better. But I do not. I only have 181, 182. And, you know, like I said, 1970s when this came out. And it's still in really, 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 really great shape. 182 has better corners than 181, but you know, 181 is the first full appearance of this little guy right here, the 5'6" bruiser Wolverine. Yes, he's only 5'6" in the comic books. So Hugh Jackman standing next to Wade Wilson, Deadpool. For those that don't know, doesn't look right. So when they put him in that 5'6" frame and that one, when he comes out, he's this little pipsqueak. That's really what he looks like, folks. He's this little bitty guy at 5'6", and yeah, he's short, but he does have his healing factor. As they proved that later on, it started to kill him, and as the years go by, which I don't know if that would actually work or not, but I don't know what adamantium really does in the body because it's not real. Although some people think it is, because some people take comic books a little too far. It's real life, man. It's real life. I'm not one of those. Um, but when it comes to horror and thrillers and things like that, now that stuff could be real. You know, just because. Let's go this route. You know, a lot of these horror movies are based off of true events. You and off of true happenings, off of true killings, and things of that nature. So, in most of your horror, there is truth to it somewhere. Now, when it comes to certain creatures and things that people bring that think up out of their minds and things like that, which is awesome. Um, could those exist? Possibly. Do they exist? Well, we haven't seen the proof of that. Unlike Bigfoots, aliens, chupacabras, Mothman, the list goes on and on of stuff that has actually been documented and seen by eyewitnesses. Um, and not loonies and crazies like everybody's going, oh man, he's getting off into this those crazy topics right there, and he's going, he's Looney Boon, he's Looney Tune right there. No, I mean, like I said many times, I live in a haunted house. You get used to the knocks and bumps and things, you know, the sounds that go bump in the night, you know, because okay, you've heard most all of them. There's nothing really new that I haven't heard in my own house. Nothing that I haven't seen in my own house, like orbs and shadow creatures or shadow figures and um, poltergeist activity, things being moved, and then so on. I mean, just so on and so forth. So many different aspects and avenues that happen inside my house on a regular basis. And the EVP recordings that I get, you know, that's why I have this in my office because I get a lot of EVPs right here in my office. And it's just one thing after another with all of it. And you know, I've eyewitnessed it. I've seen it. I could write a whole book on the things that I've seen in my own house. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing the opening video again. Hello. Hello. Boy, you just don't listen, do you? Thank you. Oh my good lord. Would you stop being a jackass? Thank you. You hit one little button and everything goes crazy on your computer. And I didn't even mean to hit that, but you know, it's how it goes. It is how it goes. I'm looking at getting some more memory for my other computer to make sure that it's running optimal speed. Um, just because it is giving me a headache when it comes to my 3D stuff. I thought I had it licked yesterday or the day before. I was printing out a print, and apparently it was too heavy for all of the structural support. So whenever it was printing, it was coming off of the base, and so it made some weird print go on. So I scrapped that one and went on. I will get it right. I will get these 3D prints right. I promise. Um, I just got to learn how to build my forms and things like that in there. So that's some learning curves that I'm going to be working on too. But I don't have the time to do the learning curves. I want it quick. I want it fast. I want it now. Well, it sounds like society, doesn't it? We all want it quick, fast, and now. We don't want to wait. It's just like our hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars. Because if we can't have it now, I'll just go somewhere else where I can get it now. You know. But no, I am going to be learning a lot when it comes to building frames and building forms in this 3D architecture as it boils down to it. I tried to do a different program for my stuff, but that didn't work. Just because my computer is outdated. Okay, all of my computers are outdated, and it just boils down to you got to do a little bit more work when it comes to finding the right program that's going to work for you. You want to make sure that it's fast enough, that it's going quicker, that it's you this, that, and the other. And so, I've got a tech buddy out there who's helping me out when it comes to, you need to do this, you need to try this, you need to, use this memory, use, so on and so forth. And it's just like, okay, dude, I'll try and get that done, and I'll try and find that. But it's been pretty simple to find some things, as far as what I need when it comes to the computer stuff. But I finally got my Illustrator back working due to me being able to put Windows 11 on my system, even though it's not supposed to handle Windows 11. I've got it over there, one of those type situations. Just like you can put any program on whatever you want and make it do what you want. So there you have that. But we are, like I said, Monkey Peak will have to wait. I'm probably going to do a whole new broadcast on it tomorrow when it comes down to it. Just because I want to devote the actual time to it to give my full opinion on the comic book itself. Again, it's something that was produced back in 2017, getting reimagined, not reimagined, just redone in 2020. 2024 is when it showed that it was getting redone. It got the translation uh, pushed over into 2024 and being released. But these are some of the classics that they talk about. We get to cover, just like Gold Digger and the older Ninja High Schools. But the Ninja High School we're on now is the Road to 200. So um, they have got nearly 200 issues of one comic book. Now that's just a small drop in the bucket compared to some of the comic books out there, like Avengers or Thor, or you know, used to be Uncanny X Men until they canceled it in 2002 and moved it into 5 or 6 different volumes already. Um, when they could have just kept it going, instead of ending it in 2002, because it went over 500 issues. Just for the Uncanny X Men alone from 1963 to 2002. So there you go. Plus X amount of annuals that they had. They do an annual comic book for most everything, and I don't know if they still do now or not, but they used to. And I think I'm trying to think when their last annual was for the Uncanny X Men, but I can't think of it right off the top of my head. But if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. You'll go look it up, or you won't. Because right now, I'm not going to go look it up. But yes, it gets the full devotion that it needs, so it will get its own show, own broadcast, and from there, we will, you know, do cool things for it. Just because we don't want it to just be, you know, this whole humdrum little thing that, oh well, you just covered 10 pages of this. I had 30 pages printed, but I printed the wrong section. I gotta go backwards to forwards, you know. And that again, that's on me. I messed that up, you know. And so that's why I'm not even going to talk about it. I mean, we've already talked about a little bit of it, but we're not going to talk about it anymore until I can give it its full attention that it needs. Now, had I opened it up Friday when I got it and was looking at it, it'd be a little bit different story. I'd be like, oh, I need to print this backwards so that we can read this backwards. But no, that's not how it worked out. But that's okay. That just means I get to give it a whole show on its own, do a whole recording for it, and go from that aspect on it. So, and I'm looking forward to it just because it will be exciting. It is fun. Like I said, it's already a bloody comic book that I would get into, 100%. And it is one of those things that, that's this comic book is my jam. Just because it is horror, it is bloody, it is, graphic, and it is 220 pages long. So, you know, um, that's a lot of pages to read. Some people can't even sit through a newspaper, you know. And here I am going to be writing an essay. I just got to come up with a catchy title. So, but yeah, how it goes. But all right, folks, we are going to wind this down. We're going to send you off into the ethereal and let your metaphysical. I don't even know what I'm talking about with all that stuff. But no, I seriously have some artwork that I've got to get done. Got to get mapped out, hashed out, and I got to get back to my painting so I can get it finished because I've only got, you know, a few weeks left on that one. Um, but I think I'll get it done in plenty of time to make its debut for the PDF cover. So, but we will have the whole special Monkey Peak Antarctic Press preview so that everybody gets the chance to go watch it if they want to, or if they don't, it's not a big deal. If you're not into manga comic books or Antarctic Press titles, then I get it. I wasn't back in the day. I only liked a few titles that they had, and Warrior Nun Ariella was one of them. Unfortunately, it was taken over. He had to sell it off for, medical bills and things like that. not for him, but for somebody else in his family. And that was a big regret from him. So, but all that aside, it will get its own special preview, uh, and its full devoted attention that it needs. So, but I appreciate everybody being here. I, liking, sharing, following, and look forward to you on the 30th, which will be Wednesday. Will be the next show, and we'll probably talk a little bit about Monkey Peak, as we usually do after I put out um, the special broadcast for it, because I will be doing that, putting that out there and going that route. But as I like to say, as I leave you guys to it, we will catch you on the flip side. Have a good day, everybody.